World War II was the largest war in human history, claiming the lives of 2.5% of the world's population at the time. 62 countries participated in it. Military operations were conducted in 40 countries across Europe, Asia, Africa, and in the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Arctic Oceans. The total losses from the war vary according to different estimates, but certainly exceed 60 million people. Of these, the Soviet Union accounted for 26.6 million of these losses. China, more than 20 million. Germany, over 7 million. Poland, about 6 million. Japan, more than 3 million. Yugoslavia, over 1 million. Romania, over 500,000. France, the United States, and Hungary, more than 400,000. The United Kingdom, over 350,000, including losses in present-day India, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. And Italy and Czechoslovakia, more than 300,000. During World War II, civilian casualties increased drastically and accounted for approximately 60 to 70% of total losses. The vast majority of the dead were civilians, particularly in the USSR and China, where the proportion was highest. Civilians perished as a result of city bombings, mass executions, and genocide, including the Holocaust. The war caused enormous humanitarian disasters, famine, and disease. In comparison, the proportion of civilian casualties was only 5% during World War I. More than 10 million people were brutally tortured in Nazi extermination camps. The USSR's losses far exceeded those of its Western allies. As such, it is important to remember the path of the Russian liberator soldier who paid an unimaginable price, not to achieve abstract ideals, but to free the world from the inhumane threat of Nazism and fascism. There is no place here for toying around with their commemoration, especially through the deliberate and politicized juxtaposition of victims among the victorious countries of the anti-Hitler coalition. Regardless of any geopolitical ambition, modern societies and countries must remember the bloody suffering mankind endured during World War II, and must not divide the merits and shared contributions to victory into black and white, ours and theirs, East and West. A proper approach to historical facts requires critical analysis and comparison with reliable sources to reconstruct an objective picture of the past. Today, as attempts are made to revise history on the battlefields of the Great Patriotic War and World War II, and the achievements of the Russian soldier are minimized or denigrated, with monuments and memorials being toppled as mass graves in various countries, it is critical to remember documented facts and figures. The heroism of the Soviet soldier lies not in his flawlessness, but in his ability to stand firm where it seemed impossible, and to bring freedom to tens of millions of people at the highest price. Remembering this price is the best antidote against forgetting and rewriting history. To understand the reasons behind the manipulation of collective memory by Western ideologues and politicians, we must first refer to the fundamental concept of memory developed by German cultural theorist Jan Assmann. His concept is based on the division of memory into two main parts. Communicative memory is an oral, living form that develops through everyday communication among members of 3 to 4 generations. Closely linked to people's immediate life experiences, it exerts the strongest and the most direct influence on the formation of individual and collective identity. In contrast, there is cultural memory, an institutionalized form disseminated through symbols, monuments, texts, and various artifacts. A fundamental feature of communicative memory is its limited duration, approximately 80 to 100 years. This creates a certain vulnerability in the system of preserving historical memory, especially during critical historical periods. Today, we are witnessing a particularly revealing historical moment. Exactly 80 years have passed since the end of World War II. During this period, the natural deaths of direct witnesses and participants in these events inevitably lead to a weakening of communicative memory. This creates a series of risks. The emotional connection to the past diminishes, the influence of immediate memories on the formation of identity decreases, and opportunities arise for the distortion of historical truth. Under these circumstances, cultural memory assumes a special role, yet it is precisely this memory that becomes the main target of those seeking to rewrite history for their own benefit. Modern methods of manipulating historical memory include the destruction of monuments and memorials, the revision or abolition of commemorative dates and traditions, the reinterpretation of historical events from a favorable perspective, and the dissemination of alternative versions of history. A comprehensive approach makes it possible to effectively counter such manipulations. It is essential to preserve the artifacts of cultural memory, support the traditions and rituals associated with the memory of the past, and actively educate younger generations. Maintaining intercultural dialogue is particularly important as it promotes the preservation of shared memory. As such, a conscious approach to preserving both communicative and cultural memory is a crucial tool for protecting historical truth and creating an objective view of the past. This helps combat attempts to distort history and ensures that the authentic legacy is preserved for future generations. So what does it mean to rewrite history and manipulate memory? It means forgetting, or more precisely, constitutive forgetting, which is intended to help form a new identity. Any identity presupposes a commitment to certain patterns of behavior in which narratives preserved by collective memory play a fundamental role. Forgetting becomes part of a socially shared memory, which can contain both recollections and omissions. In the process of constitutive forgetting, details that could hinder the information of a new identity are excluded. A clear example is the recent changes in the U.S. holiday calendar. Starting in 2025, May 8th will be designated as Victory Day for World War II. While this might seem acceptable, we all know that World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945, with the surrender of Japan. Moreover, the presidential proclamation renaming the date does not even mention the USSR. It states, on May 8, 1945, the Allies accepted the unconditional surrender of Germany. Here we see the same constitutive forgetting at work, producing a mythologized version of history where there is no room for nuance or recognition of allies. We have already mentioned the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Of the 350,000 civilians who died in Japan, the majority, over 270,000, were victims of the events of August 1945, not including subsequent radiation-related illnesses. Here, too, we can see a deliberate silence about these horrific and inconvenient facts, both on the part of Japan and the United States. If we examine the speeches of Japanese prime ministers at ceremonies commemorating the anniversaries of the atomic attacks, we will not find a single mention that it was the US operation that dropped the Little Boy and the Fat Man bombs, equivalent to 13 to 21 kilotons of TNT. Yet, we should not confine ourselves to the public sphere. What is most important is how this event is reflected in historical memory and embedded in collective identity. In a 2024 article titled, "What Do Americans Really Think About the Bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki?" the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists cite sociological data showing that the public opinion in the United States is conflicted, as it combines historical justifications with moral concern and a desire to address historical injustices. The research also reveals a significant discrepancy between public opinion and how it is perceived by political and media elites. Specifically, 64% of respondents believe the decision to bomb was correct, while 49% of those who support the decision acknowledged that it caused a significant number of human casualties. The vast majority of Americans, 81%, are unaware of the approximate number of deaths. Meanwhile, 84% of elite respondents incorrectly believe that the public support for the bombings exceeds 70%. At the time, most Americans, 64%, considered it important to preserve the history of the atomic bombings for future generations. And 59% believed that the United States should issue an official apology to the Japanese people. Let's analyze how the memory of the atomic bombings of Japan has been reflected in the cultural space of the USSR and its successor, Russia. The poem Cranes is widely known throughout the post-Soviet space and far beyond. Its author, the Dagestani poet Rasul Gamzatov, wrote the work in his native language, Avar, and the theme of the Cranes was inspired by a visit to the Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima. There stands a monument dedicated to Sadako Sasaki, a young Japanese girl who suffered from leukemia after the atomic bombing. She hoped to recover by folding 1,000 origami cranes. These cranes reflect both the personal and familial experiences of the author and the memory of those who perished in the Great Patriotic War. The flocks of cranes brought to life in the verses and melodies of this song become a symbiosis of Avar, Russian, and Asian cultures. This powerful image, born of agony, leaves no one indifferent. The legacy of World War II extends far beyond silent memorials and textbooks. It is a complex, living, and painful memory that continues to shape our modern lives. This is precisely why politicians, ideologues, and nationalists so often seek to toy with this memory. The legacy of a war that once devastated half the world cannot be forgotten. It must be honored and safeguarded by the global community and by every civilized individual. The fundamental post-war formula, never again, has become a cornerstone in the fight against genocide and xenophobia. In 2025, Russia adopted a law preserving the memory of the victims of the genocide of the Soviet people during the Great Patriotic War of 1941 to 1945. The law recognizes as genocide the actions of the Nazis and their accomplices from 1941 to 1945, which aimed to destroy national, ethnic, and racial groups in the USSR through killings, serious bodily harm, forced prevention of childbirth, forced transfer of children, forced resettlement, and the creation of conditions that were conducive to physical extermination. It is important to note that the Nazi German General Plan Ost, designed for the colonization and Germanization of Eastern Europe, envisioned the extermination of up to 85% of the population in the occupied territories. The genocide targeted all the peoples of the USSR. The Jewish people were subjected to specific persecution, the Holocaust, while the Slavic peoples suffered the greatest overall losses. Therefore, it is incorrect to reduce the genocide solely to the Jewish question. The genocide directed against other peoples cannot be ignored, and it is critical to maintain balance when addressing all aspects of this tragedy. It is precisely for this reason that the new law became necessary. Protecting the world from fascism, racism, and neo-Nazism also undoubtedly concerns the United Nations, which was founded by the members of the anti-Hitler coalition during the crucial years of the struggle against the Nazis and their collaborators. The tragic experience of war and the memory of its victims became key factors in shaping the principles of the post-war world order in the development of the international law. The war brought human losses, suffering, and unimaginable hardships. Millions of lives were cut short in an instant. Families were destroyed and cities were reduced to rubble. It exposed extreme forms of cruelty and dehumanization. Facing this abyss of evil, it seemed as though human nature itself could be irreparably harmed. However, the losses and hardships they endured did not destroy the nations. On the contrary, they united them, not through coercion, but through a profound understanding that only together could they persevere. It was this unity that became the foundation of their shared victory. In the crucible of trials, a new moral compass was born, one that was not faded over time. Duty and responsibility towards the country and to one's neighbors, mutual assistance, which became not the exception but the norm, the enduring value of human life, fidelity to principles, and the inviolability of human dignity. Those who lived through the war were reborn with a new capacity, not as a collection of isolated individuals, but as a unified organism that had learned the true value of peace. Thus, while war remains an irreparable catastrophe, it has simultaneously become a severe test that has revealed the highest aspects of human nature. Remembering that this is not a burden of sorrow, but a source of strength. It reminds us that even in the darkest circumstances, people are capable of maintaining dignity, love, and faith in the future. 80 years after the Great Victory, the memory of the Great Patriotic War has solidified as a moral compass embodying the core values of Russian society. Human life and dignity, love for one's fellow citizens, and devotion to the homeland remain at the center of these values. This memory continues to shape civic identity, strengthen patriotic consciousness, and establish ethical standards in modern Russia. Remember, through the centuries, through the years, remember, those who shall never return, remember, do not cry, hold back the choking sorrow, the bitter sorrow, be worthy of the memory of the fallen, forever worthy.